Like I said earlier, you know, guys, I know it sounds cliched that you always hear about how sports, football in this case is, you know, it's a microcosm of life, and it is, but because these lessons, the things that you learn from playing sports are, especially at your age, there are very few places that you will get the opportunity to learn those lessons like you do here. This one kind of gets me because, I mean, heck, you know, this past year we had too many, which one is too many, but too many people quit throughout the season. And it's you don't just quit on something. When you tell somebody and commit to people, commit to yourself that you're going to, and say you're going to do something, you see it through. You don't quit because it's not fun anymore. You don't quit because it's hot. You don't quit because a coach fussed at you. You don't quit because you have, you know, arguments with teammates, because you're not winning enough games, any of that stuff. Like we said, I hate to break it to you, but life is not going to be sunshine and roses all the time. It is difficult. There are things, there are rough spots, there are rough patches that you have to go through. Whether that's going to be in work, in your marriage, as a parent, you name it. There are times when things are tough, and you can't just quit on it. It's not fair to people. It's not fair to yourself. So, again, anybody who we think of that has accomplished great things, or we think of as great people, at some point, they probably had some tough times that they had to push on through. Thomas Edison, what did he do? Had the light bulb. You've all heard how many times he failed, right? And that probably came from his quote, "I did not fail 1,000 times. The light bulb was an invention with 1,000 steps." Did he fail exactly 1,000 times? I don't know, probably not. But the point is he had a goal. He believed in something. He believed he could accomplish something. And no matter how many times, I got to think on number 600, at some point he got tired and said, this might not be worth it. But he kept going forward. And eventually, we're not sitting here holding candles so we can see each other. All right, next. All right, these guys. If you don't know who all of these guys are, shame on you. Go study your football history. Johnny, arguably first guy that was really slinging the ball down the field. Joe Montana, 5 Super Bowls. Troy Aikman, 3 Super Bowls. It was not always easy for them. Johnny Unitas, first pass got taken back the other way for 6 points. Joe Montana, first pass, intercepted. Troy Aikman, and I was corrected by, hey, I'm a Saints fan, you Cowboys people. They did win 1 game that year. Troy Aikman was not playing in it, so he did not win a game. He threw twice as many interceptions as he did touchdowns, and again, had a pretty bad season. At some point, you had to think that he would go, you know what, this just isn't fun anymore. Maybe I'll stay around because I get paid a lot of money, but you know, he could. But you can quit without walking off the field. If you're not putting your effort into it, and you're not giving 100% of yourself into whatever goal it is you want to accomplish, you might as well quit. And these guys didn't do it, and now they are looked at as some of the greatest ever. More important than football ever will be. What if these guys had said, you know what, I can't keep going? As soon as the front of that boat dropped and people are getting shot in front of them, having to swim and carry all that gear onto that beach through that water while bullets are flying everywhere. I'm pretty grateful, I don't know about y'all, that these guys had some guts and some drive and finished the mission that they were sent to do. What about this guy? What if he had just said, you know what, this isn't worth it. Let somebody else do this. Now, he was not the only one, but I mean, death threats, his family being threatened, everything else, but he kept going. And what's he say? If you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you've got to keep moving forward. If he hadn't, and some others hadn't, we'd all be drinking out of separate water fountains and going to separate schools and everything else. It's a good thing there were people like this who stood up for what was right, no matter how difficult it got at times. Don't tell me that anything we do is difficult when you've got guys storming beaches and you've got guys whose families are being threatened with their lives and they keep going forward. So, again, what we do in the overall scheme of things, really, is it that tough? Robin Williams, most of you know who he was, pretty famous actor, comedian. Yes, there are people in your life that you need to listen to and take criticism and take advice from, whether it's coaches or family members or each other. But all the voices that you hear everywhere else telling you how, shoot, we weren't very good last year. We didn't win many games. But I have a hard time taking that from a bunch of people who are not out there and not working. So tune out the people that have no impact on whether or not you'll be successful. Voted least likely to succeed in high school. I guess he probably could have said, yeah, y'all are right, I'll quit. Good thing he didn't. And what about this guy? What if he hadn't had the strength to move forward and stand up for what he believes in and finish? Again, in the overall scheme of things, what we're doing is not that difficult. And yes, and like we said earlier, I think you kind of, we have a tendency to look at him as God, and now that's true and everything else, but let's don't forget that this was a human being who felt all the same pains that we feel, and because he had a goal to accomplish that was more important than anything else, he went through all the suffering and everything and never quit, never said, you know what, it's too hard, can't go anymore. So think about how these people just are examples of perseverance, and if they hadn't persevered, how our lives and everything we see and do would be different. Okay?
Give him 3, 1, 2, 3.